Hi, welcome. Please like, share, and subscribe. That would be greatly appreciated. Today, we read from John's Gospel, chapter 15, 1 through 8, and we just heard this reading, so I'm going to read it again, and then we're going to have a little bit of discussion about it. Jesus said to his disciples, "I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine grower. He takes away every branch in me that does not bear fruit. And every one that does, he prunes so that it bears more fruit. You are already pruned because of the word that I spoke to you. Remain in me as I remain in you, just as a branch cannot bear fruit on its own unless it remains on the vine. So neither can you unless you remain in me. I am the vine and you are the branches. Whoever remains in me and I in him will bear much fruit, because without me he can do nothing. Anyone who does not remain in me will be thrown out like a branch and wither. People will gather them and throw them into a fire, and they will be burned. If you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask for whatever you want, and it will be done for you. By this is my Father glorified, that you bear much fruit and become my disciples." I did two reflections today. I did Jeff Caven's on Hallow app, and then I also read Bishop Barron's reflection on today. Two really kind of different takes on it. And as I was reading Bishop Barron's, he talked about being cut off from the vine. So it made me think about when you're pruning, or let's just say, not even on purpose, but something like I have a plant and it gets separated, like I accidentally hit a branch or I hit something and it breaks off and it gets separated from the actual plant itself. It dies because it doesn't have the nourishment that it needs in order to live. So what does it need? It needs its plant. It needs its vine. And just like us, Bishop Barron was talking about how in order to stay healthy physically, we need to exercise and eat right and do the things that our doctors tell us to do and to keep our strength and to stay healthy. If we don't, what happens? We get sick. And so, same thing with our spiritual life. If we don't continually feed it, then our spiritual life becomes sick and it becomes unhealthy. So that is why every single day we should be reading his word, which leads into Jeff Caven. Now, I've said this before. I've said, you'll be reading the Gospels or the readings or even the Old Testament and be like, oh my gosh, I've heard that before. I remember that. Well, Jeff was talking today about how in Mass, you sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes you go through the routine of Mass and you get finished and you think about what were the readings about today? What was the homily? I don't remember, because your brain was thinking about multiple things that was going to be taking place that day. I can relate to that. I think everybody can at times, where your brain is thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to fix for breakfast? Or because we go to early Mass, or what are we going to have for lunch? What do I need to get done? For me, it used to be, oh my gosh, I have so many lesson plans to do. I've got to grade papers, and my brain's thinking about everything other than what I need to be thinking about, and that are his readings and his word, because that is what nourishes us. That's what teaches us. And so one habit, as you know, I've really gotten into in the last year especially, is just sitting down every morning and making sure I read the readings of the day and the gospel of the day, and really taking that in and thinking about what our Lord wants from me to learn from those readings. And it helps me even on like daily Mass or Sunday Mass, that I read them before Mass, because then when I hear it read, it triggers, and I actually can relate. I've already read that today, and I know what's being said. It also helps me to pay attention more to the homily too, because I like to see how Father has taken what I have read already and put it into his words and what he wants to teach us. And then the other thing he was talking about is that we need to make sure that we get into the practice. We just get into that practice of reading his word, because plants have to grow. Our spiritual life needs to grow, but we have to have good soil. And we've heard that gospel before, where the seed falls. Jesus plants a seed. And so if we're not prepared, if our soil hasn't been turned over and nourished and given all the nutrients, again, going back to being healthy spiritually, then it's difficult for us to grow. So let's think about that. What can you do today that can help you grow spiritually, that will help you bear fruit? Keep his gospel at the forefront of your mind. Don't be necessarily, I know we all have things to do and we're working, but think about that. Think about throughout the day, what can you do to bear fruit? Have a good one.